The hall fell into a deathly silence. Little junior sister died with her eyes still wide open, her lips quivering slightly, as if she wanted to call out for first senior brother. The sneer on the demon cultivator's face had twisted into a look of terrified disbelief, appearing exceptionally comical. The elders stared at the long blade in my hand, their mouths agape for a long time without a sound. My master looked at the sky and then at the ground, doing everything in his power to avoid his colleagues' gazes. First senior brother was the first to react. His face flushed from deathly pale to the color of pig liver as he jumped up and pointed at me. Duccio, the sect only lost a few outer disciples, but little junior sister is leaving the sect forever. You actually killed her? I pulled my blade back, blood streaming down the edge and soaking the floor. The simp is unhappy? Since you love her so much, go down and keep her company. Saber against sword. In just a few moves, my blade swept across his throat. First senior brother collapsed to the ground, his head rolling to the feet of our little junior brother. Little junior brother's face turned white instantly. His lips trembled for a long time before he blurted out. Duccio, little junior sister was innocent and romantic. She was only seduced by the demon cultivator into accidentally opening the sect's barrier. It said that a prodigal son's return is worth more than gold. How could you be so aggressive? You killed little junior sister and then laid such a heavy hand on first senior brother. You are simply unworthy of being our senior sister. The spectating cultivators nodded one after another. Exactly. How can we as cultivators be so lacking in compassion? I think she's just jealous that everyone loves little junior sister. Little junior sister is too pitiful, a victim of female rivalry. I sighed. It seemed everyone had indeed studied the way of the sword so much that they had become total bastards. As the eldest senior sister, I naturally had to provide everyone with an education of love. With a few slashes, I turned little junior brother into a human stump. You all claim to follow the way of all beings, yet you're constantly ready to sacrifice others for the sake of romance. Why are you so generous with other people's lives? An outer disciple stiffened his neck and shouted, sacrificing for her is their blessing. I split him down the middle with one stroke. Fine, now the blessing is yours. Don't mention it. In less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, over a dozen people lay dead in the great hall. The survivors ran faster than rabbits. Several even lost their shoes in the flight and didn't dare turn back to pick them up. Wiping the blood off my blade, I turned back to the elders. Anyone else want to educate me? The elders retreated 3 steps in unison. My master cleared his throat. Duccio, that's about enough. Come to my cave dwelling. I gave an oath, sheathed the blade on my back, and stepped through the blood-slicked hall. When I reached Master's cave, he looked up and sighed deeply. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? I know. I sat down cross-legged and poured a cup of plain water from the table. But I don't regret it. Little junior sister let a demon into the barrier, and 27 outer disciples died. Are outer disciples not human? Her falling in love means she gets to use other people's lives as fireworks. Master sighed. That's true, but the sect has had its rules for years. Seniority and personal ties always outweigh the regulations. With those slashes, you've offended everyone. They offended me first. I finished a fruit and tossed the pit aside. Master, tell me, what did I ask you when I first joined the sect? Master thought for a moment and said nothing. I asked you, what is the way of all beings? You said it is the path of holding the lives of everyone under heaven in one's heart. And have you achieved that now? Master asked me. I have. I stood up and patted my seat. I kill one love brain and save 100 ordinary people. That is holding the masses in my heart. Master opened his mouth, but finally just waved his hand. Fine, fine. Go back and rest for now. The following days were unexpectedly peaceful. No one picked fights with me. No one whispered behind my back. And even the auntie serving food in the cafeteria gave me 2 extra scoops of meat. It wasn't until the day of the sect grand competition registration that I realized something was wrong. Only 3 people were standing on the stage. Me, a male cultivator I didn't recognize, and a female cultivator I didn't recognize. Master leaned over and whispered, the disciples all fled overnight. You 3 are the only juniors left in the entire sect. I slowly began cleaning my blade. Aren't there 2 left? I'm ready. Master grabbed my wrist. Don't you dare. If it weren't for the rule that the competition requires at least 3 people, the sect leader wouldn't have generously contributed his nephew and daughter. These two are the bare minimum. If you want that first-place prize money, both of them have to stay alive through the tournament. Oh, I said, how much is the prize money? A high-grade treasure sword and 10,000 spirit stones. I immediately marched to the center of the stage and shouted with all my might. My great blade is ready. Who's next? Just as I was contemplating how to spend the money, Master said hesitantly, Duccio, the graduation exam has been changed. Changed? I gripped my coin purse tight. I just got on the stage and you tell me it's changed? This year's competition rules have changed from dueling each other to infiltrating the demon realm for assassinations. The prize money has increased, too. It was originally 10,000 spirit stones, but now it's 20,000. I was furious. Am I the kind of person who only cares about money? Master said weakly. Then I'll go ask about the price. Do you think 30,000 would work? In the end, the sect leader stepped in personally. Amidst wails of, I have no money, only my life, we settled on 43,652 spirit stones. The demon realm was infamous. Countless righteous cultivators had met their ends there. As a practitioner of the path of common life, the most moral of the righteous paths, the moment I entered the demon realm, I felt like I had returned to a familiar place across the ocean. A demonic cultivator at a street stall shouted at me, What do you want? See something you like? I'll go into the shop and restock it for you right now. I waved him off. The cultivator was dissatisfied. What? Don't trust my skills. I pulled out a black balaclava and put it on. Dummy. Why buy when $0 shopping is cheaper? The first place I $0 shopped was a demon general's warehouse. I picked the lock and rummaged through. The room was half filled with spirit stones and magical treasures, all of which I stuffed into my storage bag. On my way out, I bumped into the demon general himself. He looked me up and down. Not bad looking, though you lack demonic chi. You'd still make a decent dual cultivation furnace, though. Before he could finish, I plunged a knife into his heart. Idiot. You really think there are freebies in this world? Talk about being overconfident to death. Having looted all the general's treasures, I headed to the demon palace to find the demon venerable. The demon venerable, who was in the middle of a spat with the princess, glanced at me and decided on the spot to make me his consort. Pinching the princess's chin, he snarled, Since you're still thinking about another man, I'll demote you to a concubine and make this woman my consort instead. The princess's eyes reddened. You know that's not true. Why must you always force me? The demon venerable roared. I want you to say you love me. For every day you refuse to acknowledge our feelings, I will slaughter a city. I'll make the people of the world be buried with our love. A maid nearby threw herself down, kowtowing. Princess, didn't you travel thousands of miles just to ensure the demon venerable's safety? The lives of the entire immortal kingdom's people depend on your word. Please, say something. The princess bit her lip and turned away. Ingyen, you don't understand. I have no way to explain myself. Anything I say would be in vain. Why speak at all? The maid, Ingyen, was drenching her face in tears. Princess, help us. For the sake of me growing up by your side. The demon venerable hoisted Ingyen up, a ball of black energy gathering in his hand. Will you speak? If not, I'll kill this maid first. The princess turned around in agony and closed her eyes. I have nothing to say. That was exactly what I was waiting for. The demon venerable was tilting his head back, waiting for the princess to yield, leaving his back wide open. I crept around the pillar to get behind him and drove a blade through his back, the tip erupting from his chest. The demon venerable looked down at the blade tip and gurgled. He tried to turn to see who had killed him, but I had already pulled the knife out. He collapsed, blood pooling on the floor. The princess shrieked and threw herself forward. You bitch. How dare you kill him? Do you have any idea he was the love of my life? How could you? I tilted my head at her. He was going to slaughter your people and kill the maid you grew up with. I solved your problem. Aren't you happy? The princess acted as if she couldn't understand human speech, her eyes fixed solely on the corpse. You killed my lover. You're a monster. So, being the monster I am, I used the demon venerable's freshly extracted spine to thoughtfully send her on her way along with her lover. The spine pierced her chest. She slumped over the demon venerable, the two of them stacked together, exactly like that junior sister and the demonic cultivator from that day. I wiped my hands and looked back at Yin. Her face was covered in blood, her forehead split open from kowtowing, and she was cowering behind a pillar, trembling. If you start talking to me about love and romance too, I'll send you to reunite with her. Yin fell to her knees with a thud. Thank you for saving my life, great immortal. This servant, Yin, is eternally grateful for your immense kindness. Satisfied that she knew the score, I had her follow me as I used the demon venerable's spine to skewer one demon general after another. That thing worked even better than a knife, hard yet flexible. It whistled through the air when thrown and came back soaked in blood. By the time I reached the third wave, most of the demon soldiers had fled, and the rest were kneeling on the ground. Please, great immortal, become our new demon venerable. One demonic cultivator led the shout. I looked at him with interest. Didn't they say the position of demon venerable is hereditary? The cultivator gave a fawning smile. Not at all. The demon venerable is chosen by destiny. He reached down to pull the iridescent black cloak off the dead demon venerable. This is the sacred relic of our demon realm. Please, demon venerable, don the black robe. As his hand reached under the robe, I grabbed his wrist. Between my fingers was a poisoned dagger. Showing your hand already? I snapped the dagger in half. You still have much to learn. The demonic cultivator collapsed to his knees, his head hitting the ground with a heavy thud. Please, have mercy and let me go. I have elderly parents and young children to support. Annoyed by his rambling, I cut him down with a single stroke. As he lay dying, he glared at me. You people from the righteous sects. How can you not have a shred of compassion? Don't try to guilt-trip me. I delivered a finishing blow. Showing mercy to the wicked is being cruel to the virtuous. I scoured the battlefield 3 times. After confirming that every single person on the ground was thoroughly dead, I turned the demon palace's storehouse upside down. The demon sovereign's private collection held quite a few treasures. Spiritual stones piled like small mountains, entire walls lined with secret manuals from various sects, and over a dozen locked chests overflowing with spiritual artifacts. I took everything useful, and then I remembered something. I couldn't let all these demonic corpses go to waste. I pulled the heaven-swallowing cauldron from the storehouse, threw the demon sovereign's spine in as a base, then stuffed in the corpses of every demon general and soldier. After fueling the fire for 81 days, I forged a blade that was an iridescent shade of black. The body of the blade shimmered with a dark light. The edge was thin enough to be translucent, and it felt heavy in my hand. A single swing left a trail of afterimages. As I happily tested the blade, Anian, covered in soot from stoking the fire beside me, approached eagerly. Exalted One. As the saying goes, a good blade deserves good ornaments. The emperors of our mortal realm can produce Emperor Sarira after they are cremated, unique treasures of the highest order. I have received so much kindness from you and have always wanted to repay it. Please, let me lead the way. I slapped my thigh. Good grief. That idea is pure genius. Anian led me out of the demon realm toward the world of men. As we talked along the way, I learned she had been the princess's personal maid. Sold into the palace as a child, she had learned to read a bit and identify some herbs, but nothing else. She was the one who had delivered the messages for the secret trysts between the princess and the demon sovereign, but she had assumed it was a simple romance, until the demon sovereign began massacring cities. Only then did she realize something was wrong. Exalted One, she said, lowering her head. Am I very stupid? Stupid, but not that stupid, I replied. At least now you know what you want. The mortal realm was even more chaotic than the demon realm. The roads were packed with refugees, families dragging their belongings as they fled westward. I stopped an old farmer to ask what was happening. He said 3 eastern kingdoms were at war over a woman. 3 emperors are fighting over one woman. I was a bit stunned. Exactly, the farmer sighed. The Emperor of Jiang took a liking to the Empress of Wei. The Emperor of Wei wouldn't stand for it, and then the Emperor of Qi had a past history with the Empress of Wei. So, they started fighting. They've been at it for 3 years, hundreds of thousands have died, yet that Empress is still alive and well in the middle of it. Neither side's emperor can bring himself to hurt her. I listened in silence for a long time. This world is a write-off, I said. Anian nodded, then shook her head. But Exalted One, the emperors in our world are replaced faster than flags on a battlefield. If you want to kill an emperor for his Sarira, you have to be quick. I didn't believe her at first. When we reached the rear of the battlefield, we found a tavern and sat down. I ordered a chicken leg. In the time it took me to gnaw on that leg, news arrived from the front line. The Emperor of Jiang was dead. Hit by an arrow from a Wei general, killed instantly. By the time I'd finished another cup of tea, the Emperor of Wei was dead, stabbed in the back by his own younger brother. Before I could even finish the chicken leg, the Emperor of Qi was also dead. From illness, supposedly. He heard the news of the first two deaths, and his heart simply gave out. See, Anian pointed excitedly at the messenger soldiers. Exalted One, you've only eaten one chicken leg. I watched as officials from various countries on the battlefield skillfully replaced their emperors. The newly crowned emperor of Jiang was his 16-year-old son. The new Wei emperor was the brother who had stabbed his sibling. The new Qi emperor was a distant nephew who had swooped in. Then, the first thing all three new emperors did upon ascending the throne was continue the war, continuing the fight for that same woman. I looked down at the chicken bone in my hand, then up at the recycled battlefield. My head felt a little numb. Anian had already bought the 3 imperial corpses from a group of eunuchs, wrapping them neatly in white cloth. Exalted One, I'll go burn these for the Sarira right away. Wait, I stopped her. First, tell me, in these 3 years of war, how many emperors have been replaced? Anian counted on her fingers. Jiang has had 7, Wei has had 6, and Qi has had 5. The shortest reign was 3 days, the longest was 6 months. I took a deep breath. Is an Emperor Sarira even useful anymore? Anian thought for a moment. Exalted One, if you don't mind, the Sarira from the 3-day Emperor might be a bit small, but it can still help make up the numbers. Forget it. I tossed the chicken bone aside. In a world where an emperor is worth less than a steamed bun, Emperor Sarira are useless. Anian looked panicked. Forgive me, Exalted One. I don't know what else you might want. You saved my life. I will do anything for you. I looked at Anian, and then at the countless people like her in the distance. The area behind the battlefield was crowded with refugees, dressed in rags, gaunt and sallow. Their eyes were exhausted and numb, staring at everything as if they had lost all sensation. Some sat by the roadside chewing on tree bark. Others stared blankly while cradling dead children. No one was crying. It was as if their tears had long since run dry. I crouched down and helped an old woman who was gnawing on bark to her feet. Stop eating that. I have some rations. The old woman looked at me, her lips trembling, but she said nothing. A small child nearby leaned in, staring hungrily at the flatbread in my hand. I broke it in half and gave it to him. He snatched it and stuffed it into his mouth, choking until his eyes rolled back. I stood up and brushed the crumbs from my hands. Anian, do you know the saying? A single spark can start a prairie fire. Anian slowly stood up, her eyes lighting up. Does the Exalted One mean we should burn them all, just like we did with the emperors? No, I pressed my temples. I mean, do you want to renovate this rotten world from top to bottom? Anian froze for a moment, then knelt. Whatever the immortal tells Anian to do, Anian will do. I pulled her up. Stop kneeling. No more kneeling from now on. Stand up and get to work. That night, I began my first speech in the tavern. Hardly anyone listened. Just 7 or 8 refugees and Anian. The things I spoke about were simple. Why are you running? Why does the emperor use your lives to fill the gaps in his wars? Why do you farm and pay taxes while they sit in palaces stealing women? An old farmer raised his hand. But he's the emperor. What can we commoners do? What can you do? I slapped the table. There are hundreds of thousands of you. There are only tens of thousands of the emperor's men. One can't win, but can 1,000? 10,000? What about 100,000? No one spoke. After a long silence, a young man stood up. My father died on the battlefield. My mother cried until she went blind. I've wanted to do something for a long time, but no one was leading the way. Now there is. I looked at him. What is your name? Zhu San. Good, Zhu San. Take me to your village tomorrow. The next day, Zhu San led me 30 miles through mountain paths to a village called Peach Blossom Village. Hardly any able-bodied men remained. It was all the elderly, women, and children. I spent 3 days explaining things to them. What landlord rent is, what imperial taxes are, and why they work all year only to end up with empty hands. On the night of the third day, out of the 32 people in the village, 31 raised their hands to join me. The last one was too old to walk, but promised to act as a lookout. The first step was taken. I led the people of Peach Blossom Village to the surrounding areas, going village by village. We traveled by day and held classes at night. Topics ranged from how to redistribute land to how to fight a war, from literacy to accounting. Ainyin took notes beside me, and Zhu Sin handled the organization. A month later, our group of 32 grew to 2,000. 2 months later, 20,000. I began teaching them how to use blades. Not the flashy sword techniques of cultivators, but the most practical chops, stabs, slashes, and parries. 3 months of training for the battlefield, 6 months to become an expert. At the same time, I picked out the bright ones to teach reading, math, and geography. Once the war was over, these people would step up to govern the local areas. In the 3rd month, we took our first county seat. The garrison fled. The magistrate was dragged out of a cellar where he was hiding with his family, kneeling and begging for his life. I ordered the granary opened to distribute food to the people. An old woman knelt down in tears to kowtow, but I caught her before she could. How many times have I said it? No kneeling, I said. From now on, you don't have to kneel. The old woman stood up, wiping her tears, and said tremulously, "Young lady, you are a living immortal." I am no immortal. I pointed to the sky. The immortals are sitting up there watching. They've watched you fight wars for 100 years and seen tens of millions die, without so much as blinking. I'm not a god. I'm a person just like you. I just happen to have a blade in my hand and ideas in my head. The army continued to grow. 5 months later, we took our first prefecture. 7 months later, the first provincial capital. 10 months later, a third of the kingdom of Jiang had changed its flag. Then the trouble started. Short on money, short on food, short on people, short on everything. I took a trip back to the demon realm to commit some robbery, beating up the newly appointed demon generals one by one, and bringing back 3 warehouses of spirit stones and 2 of weapons. Then I spent half a month lurking near the stairway to immortality, intercepting promising recruits heading up the mountain to seek masters. I told them, if you go up there and study for 3 to 5 years, you'll just be working for a sect. You're better off with me. I provide room and board, job placement, and I'll teach you real skills. Most of the recruits hesitated for a moment and then followed me. A few stubborn ones insisted on going up. I didn't stop them. My master later nagged me. This year's recruitment was a disaster. Out of 108 people, fewer than half could calculate 7 plus 7. In previous years, even the worst recruits would have ranked in the top 3 this year. I replied while shoveling rice into my mouth. Those are the budget replacements I gave you. Dummies for geniuses, it's not a bad trade. Master shrieked and turned around, showing me the messy black footprints on his backside, kicked there by the elders who were driven mad with rage. I got angry. I washed my bowl clean with dish soap, set it aside, and stood up indignantly. This is too much. Bullied my beloved and innocent master. I'll make them apologize to you. I immediately took master back to the sect. First, I collected the prize money for being the top graduate. Not a penny of what I was owed would be left behind. Then I stormed into the elders' council, demanding compensation for master's mental and physical damages. Naturally, the elders refused. I pulled out my blade and had a manual debate with them all afternoon. Under the friendly negotiation of clashing steel, the elders dug out their hidden retirement funds and stuffed a bag of spirit stones into my hands. Then they turned around and complained to the sect leader, demanding we both be expelled. I sneered and personally discussed a 2N+1 severance package with the sect leader. The sect leader clutched his chest, unable to speak. Finally, he had his son, the one who held the shield during the great tournament, open the treasury and hand over half the stock. In the end, I returned with bags full of loot and my whimpering master. Master stared at the snakeskin bag on my back. Why is my compensation in your pocket? I sighed toward the heavens. Master, you don't understand. Elderly people living alone are easily scammed out of their pensions. I'm young and worldly. I'll invest it for you. When you're old, I'll use this money to take care of you. Master squinted at me. You've thought things through 1,000 years in advance. Yep. Good long-term planning, right? The money was distributed the day I got it. The medical department needed expansion, the education department needed new schoolhouses, the engineering team needed materials. Money was needed everywhere. The snakeskin bag wasn't even warm before it was empty. Master held his glass of plain water, his eyes dazed. Is it worth it? A human lifespan is like a mayfly compared to an immortal's. The mortal world has too many variables. Even if you build a utopia in these 100 years, what about the next 100? Or the next 1,000? Can you guarantee that things will continue to improve as you wish? I scratch my head. But if we don't do it, nothing will ever change. If we do, there's still hope. Besides, this world is already such a mess. How much worse can I make it? As long as it's even slightly better than it is now, that's good enough. Even if you are entangled in karma and lose the chance to ascend to immortality, I'd feel satisfied. Isn't that better than becoming an immortal? Master set down his cup to leave. I grabbed his sleeve. Master, do you want to become an immortal? Later, Master became the Minister of Education. Every day, he was either teaching higher education in cultivation or researching immortal power. Immortal cars, immortal engines, immortal carriers, immortal spaceships, and immortal nuclear tech. Every year brought something new. I assigned him over 100 talented STEM students. He taught them formations, artifact refining, and talismans, while they taught him math, physics, and chemistry in return. Master later told me that after living for over 1,000 years, he used to think cultivation was just meditation and ascension, but now he finally realized how immortal power could truly be used. The transformation of the demon realm proceeded simultaneously. The old demon palace was converted into an administrative center. Demon soldiers registered for ID cards, and literacy classes spread from one end of every village to the other. Anyone who dared eat humans to practice their arts was immediately hauled off to build roads. Occasionally, a demon cultivator who had been sealed for thousands of years would break out of the earth. 3,000 years. I, the Shura demon lord, have returned. Kowtow before me at once. A demon worker digging a foundation set down his hoe and glanced at him. Sir, the position of demon lord was abolished long ago. Shut up. What right does a lowly dirt demon have to speak to me? Demons are all equal now. That feudal mindset of yours won't do. Go register for an ID card in a bit, then sign up for 9-year compulsory schooling. Preposterous. See if I don't slaughter you all. By the time I arrived, the Shura demon lord was breathing fire at the worker. At my command, the demon realm security force pulled out their nuclear launchers. Black-red flames shot into the sky, blowing away half the demon lord's body. Interested in a road maintenance job? I approached. The Shura demon lord had only a head left, glaring at me. A warrior can be killed. How about being recycled as fuel for an immortal power furnace? But also insulted. He fell silent for 3 seconds. Where do I sign up for the road work? 5 years later, the Shura demon lord became a model road worker in the demon realm, rated excellent in every annual evaluation. Another 100 years passed, and the infrastructure of the human, demon, and spirit realms was fully integrated. It took only half a day for an immortal car to travel from the demon palace to the human capital. Master and his team of graduate students developed a cross-species communicator. The little animals of the spirit realm no longer had to learn how to seduce people, instead switching careers to become technicians and engineers. Everything was on track, and I was preparing to retire to a farm. That day, while I was watering vegetable seedlings, the bells of the divine realm chimed, and golden light covered half the sky. Immortals descended, robes fluttering to the sound of celestial music. The pomp was like a New Year's celebration. I rolled my eyes and kept watering. A voice exploded behind me. Dushio, I see you again. I turned back to see the face of a young man flushed red with rage. Who are you? Master whispered from the side. That's your senior brother, who studied with you for centuries and was eventually ended by your blade. Oh, I greeted him politely. Sorry, I didn't expect you to reincarnate so quickly. Senior brother's face turned from red to purple. You've hunted and killed me 6 times, and now you have the nerve to mock me. I was curious. How did I kill you the first 5 times? Senior brother was so angry he clutched his chest and almost fell over. A fairy in white jumped out from behind him, pointing at my nose and glaring. Umph. In your first life, senior brother was reincarnated as the eldest legitimate prince of the Jiang kingdom. But you people revolted against imperialism and feudalism. The Jiang kingdom became Jiang province, and senior brother was taken for labor reform. In the second life, he was reincarnated as a river god priest. But you said feudal superstitions were unacceptable and that promoting cults was a serious crime. So you threw him in prison for reform again. In the third life, he was reincarnated as a sword cultivator of the heartless path. But you said everyone is equal before the law and that killing one's wife must be paid for with a life. So you had him executed by firing squad. In the fourth life. Wait, I interrupted. What about the fifth life? The fairy paused. He was reincarnated as a cockroach and was crushed by your tractor. Oh, I continued chewing on my snack. Senior brother clutched his chest and pointed at me. Do you have no conscience? The fairy continued her indignant tirade. In the sixth life, he was aborted while still in his mother's womb. All because you made laws granting women reproductive rights, allowing them to decide on abortions for themselves. That's why senior brother died before he was even born. What's wrong with that? I looked at the goddess. The goddess took it for granted. Even though he bullied her, it was because he loved her. How could she not forgive him? How could she hurt his own flesh and blood? Whitewashing a rapist. I approached, blade in hand. You really are a piece of work. In a moment, I'll hack that bastard to death first, then throw you in for ideological reform. The goddess's eyes bulged. I am the flower goddess in charge of all the oleanders in the world. You dare disrespect me? Believe it or not, I'll make it so no oleander ever blooms again. I waved my hand dismissively. Do whatever you want. Oleanders aren't edible anyway. In a bit, I'll order the whole country to uproot every oleander and plant sweet potatoes instead to increase our food self-sufficiency. The eldest senior brother pulled out his Dharma treasure and sword. We are immortals. Don't waste your breath on ants. Watch me slice her into 1,000 pieces with just a flick of my finger. Before he could finish, my greatsword had already carved a ventilated window through him. It was so fast that he looked down at his chest, then up at me, his mouth agape as his soul form began to dissipate. Oops, I was a bit heavy-handed. His soul is shattered now, no chance of reincarnation. Sorry, I said to his fading spirit. I'll be more careful next time. The goddess covered her mouth and screamed, Impossible. We are immortals. How can that ragged blade of yours slay a god? I shook the black blade. What's there to be surprised about? This blade was forged from every general in the demon realm, and it has cut down 1/10 of humanity, 2/3 of the demon race, and half of all cultivators. What's a 10,000 soul banner? My blade has 100 million souls in it. The goddess shook like a leaf. I had Zhu San tie her up and throw her to the court. If guilty, she'd be sentenced. If innocent, she'd undergo reform. Then, I went back to watering my vegetables. Master sat on the ridge of the field drinking tea and said gloomily, The immortal realm won't let you get away with this. I stretched. I don't want to let them off either. They make the people burn incense and build temples all day, yet they play deaf and dumb when it's time to actually help. It's bad enough they eat for free and do nothing, but they're always falling in love in ways that threaten to destroy the 3 realms. They reincarnate just to flaunt their noble bloodlines and exploit the poor. Do they even deserve to be called immortals? Master looked up at the sky. Then how do you plan to deal with the immortal realm? You are suppressed by the heavenly Tao and cannot ascend. Forcing your way in would only result in mutual destruction. Who said anything about forcing my way in? I smiled. If it's hard to go up, it should be just as hard to come down. That's only fair. Soon after, news arrived from the immortal realm. The heavenly emperor sat in the Lingxiao palace listening to the battle reports. 999 nuclear warheads had been discovered blockading the bottom of the heavenly ladder. Anyone who went down got blown up. The god of war didn't believe it and tried to force his way through. He's been bedridden for 6 months and still hasn't gotten up. Then tell the rain god to stop the rain. 100-year drought. Reporting to the emperor, the rain god has been chasing his wife, the fire god. He hasn't rained on schedule for 200 years already. Then how is the mortal realm still doing fine? They've developed cloud seeding, the south to north water diversion project, and desalination. They stopped giving a damn about the rain and fire gods a long time ago. What about the thunder god? They've installed lightning rods and are actually clamoring for him to strike more often so they can have a steady power supply. The Wind God. Wind power generation. The Heavenly Emperor was silent for a long time. So, it was only after the God of War went down and got trashed that we realized there were nukes under the Heavenly Ladder. Your Majesty is wise. Send people to reincarnate into ancient bloodlines and support them in reclaiming the world. Reporting to the Emperor, the 100 divine generals who descended had barely finished shouting their slogans to recruit troops before they were reported by citizens eager for rewards for attempting a feudal restoration. They were taken to the desert for reforestation projects. All of them failed. Not all. A few minor Jade Maidens who were just there to make up the numbers have defected. They are now actively building a new society and promoting equality for all. The Emperor slammed the table. So we're just going to let those mortal ants off for nothing? I'm afraid we can't. Because of our actions, they've realized they live better without us. All the temples are gone now. No one burns incense or believes in us anymore. Soon, the divine realm will vanish entirely. Simon closed his eyes helplessly. I continued farming. Master sat in the shade of the rice stalks, drinking tea. I originally thought that given your personality, you would just charge into the immortal realm and slaughter your way through. I didn't expect you could make them vanish without shedding a drop of blood. It has nothing to do with me. I shook my head. It's the collective will of every living being here. I can kill gods, but that only satisfies me. Giving all living beings a direction and letting them decide their own fate. Now that's what I call exhilarating. The rain god and fire god were the first to lose their divine power and have their souls dissipate. Only then did the immortals of the realm begin to feel true fear. Pushed to the brink of survival, they finally hardened their hearts and forgot their petty romances. A massive host of gods, all dressed in white robes with white headbands, descended in a grand procession, intent on a final battle to the death with me. The Heavenly Emperor, leading a massive army and brandishing his Dharma treasures, shouted provocatively, "Du Xiao, you are defying the natural order. If you have the guts, come up here and face me one-on-one." I laughed. You, alone, taking on our entire group? The Heavenly Emperor snorted coldly. With just those ants behind you, I could wipe them out with a flick of my finger. Fine then. I turned and shouted to the captain of the immortal battleship, "Fire the immortal core-powered laser. Let's show Mr. Myriad Tribulations what's what." Thousands of laser beams fired at once. The second captain sneakily launched a demonic hydrogen bomb. Du Xiao, you have no martial ethics. Hey, you don't even have basic morals, and you have the nerve to lecture me on martial ethics? Turn the laser up. Let's clear the water out of his brain. The Heavenly Emperor tried to flee, but there was no escape. The louder he screamed for his guards, the faster the immortals ran away. But it was no use. On average, each immortal had to deal with 1,000,000 cultivators and 1,000 battleships. The odds were in my favor. Soon, only the Heavenly Emperor was left, stuck in the middle of the heavenly stairway, unable to go up or down. Like a slime in a video game, he was just being farmed, dying and respawning only to be hit again. The Heavenly Tao couldn't watch any longer. Thunder roared and lightning crashed as it sent down a lightning tribulation. Unfortunately, the immortal battleships had specialized coatings: fireproof, lightning-proof, and attack-proof. They could even absorb energy to recharge. The harder the heavenly lightning struck, the more energy the ships stored, and the more powerful the lasers firing at the Heavenly Emperor became. The God Emperor was bound to the Heavenly Tao. As long as the Tao existed, the Emperor could not die. But even the Heavenly Tao couldn't withstand this kind of repetitive depletion. The Heavenly Tao fell silent for a long time before finally speaking. Let's negotiate. We'll both take a step back. I'll let you be the immortal emperor. Just stop this mess, all right? I was very reasonable. Can we take another step back? Let me be the Heavenly Tao, and then I'll stop. What do you want to be the Heavenly Tao for? I sighed toward the sky. I'll tell you a secret. I'm a transmigrator. This world is actually my most hated TV drama. I was watching TV with my mom when I suddenly crossed over. So, you miss your mother? You want to be the Heavenly Tao so you can travel back home? Not at all. I slapped my thigh. I want to prove to my mom that this is a brain-dead show. No matter how many times you say it, it's still trash. The creators who produced this brain-polluting garbage should be dragged out and shot. They shouldn't be allowed to pollute the minds of middle-aged women who just want to buy health supplements in peace. Here followed 10,000 words of my ranting about trashy TV dramas. The Heavenly Tao decided it was better not to get involved in family disputes and just wanted to get rid of this nightmare as quickly as possible. How about this? I'll change the plot and send you home. We'll call it even. I shook my head. No, I don't believe in leaving things half-finished. I said I'd be the Heavenly Tao, so I'm going to be the Heavenly Tao. Otherwise, how can I save face in front of my army of 1 billion? The Heavenly Tao remained stubborn. You think you can threaten me? Who's threatening you? I'm going to shatter the void. I'll start up the space-time shuttle and lead a mass migration of everyone. Flowers, grass, chickens, ducks, fish, insects. I'll make it a point not to leave a single living thing for you. With that, I began packing everything up with great fervor. I even scraped the ground 5 feet deep. The Heavenly Tao fell silent for a very long time. This person was a total demon. As everyone knows, things require a compromise. When I first said I wanted to be the Heavenly Tao, the Tao disagreed. But when I said I'd take everyone and run, blowing the place to bits before I left, the Heavenly Tao said, "Look at you, I never said you couldn't have the job." The old Heavenly Tao was laid off. The new Heavenly Tao took office. The first thing I did upon taking office, break through the world barriers. In those sweet pet novels where an older, overbearing CEO dotes on a 7-year-old, infantile sweetheart wife, arrest the CEO and open fire. Send the little wife back to school to finish her 9 years of compulsory education and rename her Sweet and Strong. When I tracked down the screenwriter through the internet cables, he was typing away with a cigarette in his mouth. On the screen was a line. He pinned her against the wall, his voice husky. "Call me Big Brother." I smashed his computer and dragged him out to sweep the streets. On the filming set of The Legend of Wei Shui, 13 screenwriters were gathered around a circular table, arguing until they were red in the face. Someone wanted to add scenes for the second male lead, while someone else wanted to cut the third female lead's lines. After half a day, they hadn't even written 5 lines of dialogue. I pushed the door open, and the whole room turned to look at me. "Who are you? Remember The Legend of Wei Shui?" The group breathed a sigh of relief. "Of course. I wrote that script. It got 1 billion views." "Are you a fan? You can't be in the filming area. Can you take responsibility if filming is delayed?" I sneered. "I am a righteous passerby. On behalf of the television audience who were raised under the red flag with a normal sense of values, integrity, and shame, I am here to judge you." A crowd of people cried out in terror. "Are we not just filming a TV drama? What is there to judge? You pocket the audience's money, waste their emotions and time, and insult their intelligence. I'm going to crawl through the internet cables just to slap you." Mercy, heroine. Hitting people is against the law. I'm not hitting you. I'm going to disgust you to death. If a drama is bad, the lead actors, the director, and the investors all share the blame. I haven't forgotten them in my revenge. I curse all you bastards who produce these trashy shows. From now on, everything you eat will taste like durian. Watching them retch while they ate, I flashed a satisfied smile. Emperors who destroy their nations for love? Mowed down. Melodramatic women who return to the village to sacrifice everything for their sons? I immediately arranged for the screenwriters to transmigrate into the female leads so they could experience it firsthand. The love-hate entanglements between office secretaries and overbearing CEOs? I dragged the creative teams out to work the 996 schedule for a full year. I took down every trashy drama that popped up and overhauled every one that aired. My name became the ultimate nightmare for garbage TV. My mother, Ms. Zhang Ailen, was still in front of the television looking for a new show. She clicked one open, and the opening credits featured a special acknowledgement. Special thanks to Ms. Dushio for her contribution to cleaning up the internet. Trashy, money-grabbing dramas are not permitted to harm the physical and mental health of the youth and the elderly. A special message from Ms. Dushio. Mom, those with love brains end up with nothing in the end. Study hard and start striving. Stop watching these dramas. They're rotting your brain. Ms. Zhang Ailen let out a piercing scream. This is a total rebellion against the natural order. I heard that scream from across another world line. I grinned at the screen. I am, after all, the demon seed.